Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie Vertical Limit. A family of climbers, consisting of a father, sister, and brother, climbs a steep cliff. Suddenly, a bag flew past them. Above were beginners, and having slipped, they flew down, hooking the Garrett family as well. 5 people were left hanging on one rope. The falls jerked, leaving only one anchor point in the rock, and they themselves flew into the abyss. Annie tries her best to reach the rock to insert another fixture, but the hook that was holding them started to move, and the father demanded Peter cut the rope, otherwise, the whole family would perish. Anne begs her brother not to do this, but the guy made a choice, and the father's body fell down. 3 years have passed. Since then, Peter has renounced climbing and only goes to the mountains to photograph wildlife. Now he is working in the Lesser Himalayas area. One day his assistant fell off a hill and broke his leg. Together with the man, Peter had to return to the base camp at the foot of K2. Billionaire Elliot Vaughan brought 40 people here to conquer this peak. Here is also located a Pakistani army post, which constantly fires at Indians. Vaughan's team will be accompanied by Peter's sister Annie, who, unlike him, became a famous climber. Therefore, she took on such a difficult mission. A famous entrepreneur flew into the camp. His feat will be followed by a whole team of journalists. The event also attracted the attention of many experienced climbers. Skip Taylor told Peter that in fact, all this is a big advertising company, timed to the opening of Vaughan's new airline. He paid Tom McLaren $1 million to drag him to the top. Monique is the manager and doctor whom Peter immediately liked. In the evening, a noisy party was arranged. For years ago, the entrepreneur already tried to conquer K2, and it all ended in tragedy. The celebration was overshadowed by the appearance of Mongo Merweather, the best climber in the world. He believes that the weather will be unsuitable, and Tom McLaren took on too much responsibility. Meanwhile, the old man has been wandering alone on the mountain slopes for 4 years in search of his deceased wife's body, and believes that her brother acted wrongly 3 years ago. They could have saved their father. And the girl climbs K2 in his memory. At dawn, the climbers left the camp by helicopters. Karim said goodbye to his brother guide. Peter noticed that the wind was picking up. But the rich man believed the computer, which predicted an 82% chance of excellent weather. However, McLaren also records signs of an impending storm. They need to return. But the billionaire is against it. They can reach a certain point and wait out the storm there. And sided with Vaughan and persuaded the climber to continue the dangerous path. Peter saw satellite photos and raised the alarm. A storm is approaching, they need to urgently descend. McLaren wanted to do just that, but the rich man pressed on the climber's pride, saying the storm will turn away and then McLaren will regret it for the rest of his life. Do not miss the opportunity to become famous all over the world. The team continued to climb, but a strong wind rose, and McLaren finally decided to return. However, it was too late. The storm covered the careless climbers. They find it hard to breathe, visibility is almost zero. Suddenly Annie fell through the snow and flew into a cave. She managed to save herself only thanks to the rope she was attached to other climbers. Others were less lucky. A huge avalanche came down from the mountain, sweeping away the entire team. Only Elliot Vaughan and Tom McLaren managed to save themselves in the cave. Moreover, McLaren unfortunately fell on his back and damaged his spine. Vaughan tried to contact the base, but the signal hardly made it through the thick snow. Suddenly, Peter thought of sending signals using Morse code. Their father taught them this in childhood, and also sent a message in response, informing them that they were alive, but reaching them would not be easy. However, no one is in a hurry to join the rescue operation, as survival at such an altitude is extremely difficult. Skip told Peter that the victims have a maximum of 36 hours before they develop pulmonary edema. Only Mangamervik climbed K2 in a day, and they don't even know where the victims are. Peter asked the Pakistanis for explosives, and they agreed to share nitroglycerine, though it's in not the most reliable canisters. The explosive liquid spilled on Skip's boots, turning him into a bomb. In the evening, Peter tries to assemble a team of experienced climbers who would agree to make a rapid ascent on K2 with nitroglycerine, but everyone realizes the danger of this idea. Apart from Skip, only Karim volunteered. He hopes his cousin might still be alive. Unexpectedly, 2 Rastaman brothers also agreed to risk their lives. Meanwhile, the victims decide how to divide the water, because as long as they have it, pulmonary edema will not threaten them. After drinking the reserves, the climbers will melt ice as long as the burner allows, and in the end, they will use syringes with dexamethasone. Peter and Skip calculated that they lack about 5 hours to reach the victims. Therefore, they need Mangamervik, as only he knows how to climb faster. The last member of the team was Monique. Monique agreed because Vaughan's man offered $500,000 to all participants in the rescue operation, and she's broke. The first thing the team did was find Montgomery. He's not keen on saving anyone, but changed his mind when he learned that one of the victims is billionaire Vaughan. For some reason, the old man wanted Skip to stay in camp. Supposedly he doesn't trust him. The rest of the team members were divided into pairs. Monique got stuck with a boorish Cyril. The pairs will go to the site of the avalanche by different routes. As much as possible, a helicopter will lift them up. The helicopter hovered over the abyss, and Monique, without any safety gear, jumped onto a rock ledge. She helped the other climbers to descend. The equipment began to malfunction. Peter and Vic risk falling down, and Monique almost got sliced by the rotor. Montgomery saved the guy and threw him onto the rock. The billionaire looks unfriendly towards McLaren, who is getting worse. Annie wants to inject him with dexamethasone, but the rich man is against it. Vaughan does not want to waste supplies on someone who is doomed. A cynic approached McLaren and informed him that they would not be able to lower him down anyway. Therefore, he should resign himself and not drag down the rest. Montgomery was friends with Peter and told the guy that he did the right thing by cutting the rope. Any climber would have done the same. With every minute, it becomes harder for Annie to breathe. It's time to inject dexamethasone, but it seems Vaughan wants to keep all the syringes for himself, even though he does not show any symptoms yet. Cyril, waiting for Monique to climb up to him, carelessly placed his backpack on the snow. It rolled down the slope. The climber tried to grab it, but himself started hurtling down at high speed. He tried to stop using an ice axe, and he managed to do so at the very last moment. Cyril hung over the abyss. Monique slowly approached to save her partner. She threw a rope over the ice axe when an ice block flew into the abyss. Now she needs to swing Cyril so he can grab onto the nearest ledge. The man clung to the rock, but a canister of nitroglycerine fell out of the backpack and flew down. The climbers tried to save themselves from the blast wave. Cyril managed to climb up, after which he dropped a rope to Monique. However, Cyril relaxed too soon. He was swept away by an avalanche caused by the explosion. Now Monique needs to reach the rope that Cyril dropped, and she desperately jumped towards it. At the same time, Annie tried to reach the backpack she found on the opposite side of the cave. The supplies inside it should give them a bit more time. Risking her life, the girl grabbed the backpack but coughed, and the icy bridge under her feet started to collapse. At that moment, an explosion occurred, which also nearly killed Annie. Among the obtained supplies, she found some more water and 4 syringes with dexamethasone. Finally, the girl managed to inject the life-saving medicine into herself and McLaren. Monique was saved at the cost of a dislocated finger. To reset her finger, Peter distracted the girl with personal conversations. Malcolm tried not to think about his deceased brother, but at one point fell to his knees and cried. Karim said that his partner should return to camp, and then went on alone. But Malcolm was not about to give up and, gathering his spirit, stood up from his knees. The Pakistanis left the canisters with nitroglycerine under direct sunlight, and the camp blew up. Apparently, No one knew about such properties of the explosive because the climbers were told to urgently hide the canisters in the shade. However, there was no contact with Malcolm and Karim, so Peter approached them closer and informed them of the danger. The climbers immediately covered the canisters with snow and lay down to rest. But the liquid spilled again and leaked onto the sunlight. The climbers were torn to pieces, and Peter's team was covered with snow. After the explosion, a frozen woman's body appeared. It was Montgomery's wife, whom he had unsuccessfully searched for over 4 years. The man took the wedding ring off her neck. Next to her lay an empty container for storing syringes. The woman died when she accompanied Elliot Vaughan's group 4 years ago. Apparently, she did not receive dexamethasone. Back then, the billionaire also took all the medicine for himself. In fact, the old man agreed to go with Peter to kill this scoundrel. In the evening, Annie contacted Peter and asked him to return. She would last a maximum of 2 more hours. The rescuers would not make it in time. But Peter was not about to lose another relative in the mountains. Vaughan started coughing and immediately injected himself with dexamethasone. After that, he filled a syringe with air and plunged it into McLaren, killing him in just a minute. At dawn, Vic did not find Peter and realized that he had set off during the night without him. Vaughan panicked and tried to get out. Annie saw the dead climber and found the empty syringe. She immediately understood everything. The girl attacked the villain, but he easily threw her off and saw that part of the snow had collapsed and light was breaking through from above. Peter reached the edge of the cliff and it seemed the only possible way to continue was to go down. But the climber sped up and in a jump hooked onto another rock with 2 ice axes. Meanwhile, Vaughan figured out how to mark their location. He cut open the dead McLaren with a knife and filled a bag with his blood. Together with Annie, they raised the bag to the surface, and when it appeared from under the snow, they exploded it with a signal flare. Everything around was smeared with blood. With their last strength, Peter and Monique reached the top and discovered the bloody mark. They dropped a whistle down and announced that there would be an explosion soon. Peter poured nitroglycerine and detonated it with explosives. The path to the victims is now open. First, Vaughan tied Annie to the rope and they pulled her up. But the snow started to collapse and the girl ended up down again. Moreover, the anchor point failed, but Montgomery Vic put it back in place. The old man descended into the cave to the billionaire. He understood everything and tried to defend himself with an ice axe, but Vic easily disarmed him. The old man did not kill Vaughan. He descended to help lift Annie, but at some point, her legs hit a block of snow, and falling, she brought down the ledge on which the climbers were standing. They all hung on one rope. Vic did not have to ask Peter for anything, he had his own knife. Despite the rich man's pleas, the old man, without hesitation, cut the rope and flew into the abyss along with his enemy. From both groups, only Mong, Peter, and Annie survived.